After you go for a great walk or run, I don't know about you, but the first thing I feel like doing is crashing into the couch, and I'm starting to think about some food. But if you can discipline yourself to go through a recovery process, you'll be able to enjoy walking and running much longer and much more effectively down the road by going through a comprehensive recovery process where we first recover and restore the system, we take time to realign the system, and then we take time to rejuvenate our system so that we actually literally feel like we want to go back out and perform running all over again. If done consistently, your running practice will improve. You're literally going to pull yourself into a state of recovery so that you can go back to a resting state and your body can optimally heal from the stress of walking and running. Here's how it goes. We're going to first start with the recovery process. This is a 3-stage process. Take your warm-up and let's reverse it. We're going to go with retro jogging. So the same way we did our jog matrix, we're going to do everything in reverse. Well, let's start with a short stride. From the short stride, we'll want to progress in the sagittal plane to a long stride. Next, in the frontal plane, we'll want to play with a crossover reverse jog. The next progression in the frontal plane will actually be our wide-based retro jog. You will notice that I'm trying to make a conscious effort to look over both my right shoulder and my left shoulder. It's great to explore movement in both directions. Let's move into the transverse plane now. We're going to take the toes in, retro jog. And then we're going to progress to the toe out. Now from there, we're going to drive the arms in an A, B, C pattern. So A is going to be in the sagittal plane, B is going to be in the frontal plane, and C is going to be in the transverse plane, all while we retro jog. Let's start with the sagittal plane. Next, we'll progress to the frontal plane. Make sure that your trunk moves as you do this next movement. And then we'll finish up in the transverse plane. And there you have it. It's going to be really important that you make sure that the area that you're going to do this recovery and that it's clear of any debris, any changes like in the road, if there's curves. Just be really safe in the environment that you're in, because as you're going backwards, if you take a trip, it could be kind of nasty. The next part of this that we're going to want to focus on is the realignment process. Now the realignment gets a little bit technical from the standpoint of how we came up with the strategy to realign the body. The motions that your hips and your trunk go through in running, we're going to try and literally just reverse those. And just a key hint, as you're running, your shoulders and hips go in opposite direction in 3 planes of motion. So now what we're going to try and do is drive them in the same direction in 3 planes of motion. There are some instances where the opposite does happen, but let's try and just say big picture so we can keep this real simple for you. What you're going to start with is a forward lunge to a forward reach. Over time, get progressively larger with the lunges and deeper with the reaches to help start the recovery and realignment process. So we're just going to start with a forward lunge and a forward reach. Again, I'm focusing on somewhat of a larger lunge. Don't go so big that you're losing your balance or there's any kind of discomfort. And now what I'm going to do in the sagittal plane on the other end is I'm going to step back and reach up. Now I'm just going to take some time to show this one from the side. What you want to do, the timing is very important. The hands will actually initiate. They're going to swing back, and then what you're going to do is you're going to step back, and the timing of it is as the hands are coming up and over, and your end range of motion is here, that's the time that the heel will come down. So the hands and the heels come down at the same time, and then they come back in the opposite direction to set up the other side. You want to make sure that you feel this all in the front side of the body. We don't want to feel it into the back. And if you are feeling it in the back, don't reach as far back and focus on reaching up. It'll be much more beneficial. Now we have in the frontal plane, as we step our right foot to the right doing a lateral lunge, we're going to bend our arms in the opposite direction. So we're going to come here, right lunge, left bend, left lunge, right bend. Even though the cues sound opposite, we actually have our pelvis and trunk going in the same direction. And there we have it. This next one's a little bit tricky. What you're going to do is you're going to cross your right foot over your left. You're going to step across your body, and you're going to bend. So if I step my left foot to my right, my arms bend to the left. Again, this drives pelvis and trunk in the same direction. And then finishing up in the transverse plane, what we're going to do is we're going to take our right foot, twist it to the right, and reach to the right. My suggestion is to maintain a focal point. As in running, you're always focused on something. You're never just looking aimlessly. So keep that focal point as you go through these movements. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to step in the opposite twist direction and twist my arms in that same direction. So you're going to step around to the front of your body, twist further in that direction, keep your fixed focal point. Okay, there you have it. That is the realignment process. Already, you should start to feel that your body is starting to loosen up. If you're not, no big deal. There's a lot of practice required, but you may need to go deeper into your movement so long as you're not compensating or experiencing any discomfort. What we're going to do now is we're going to finish off with this rejuvenation process. You simply just need something that you can put one foot up onto. I'm going to grab a few boxes here. And so we'll start this from the side so that you can see the position. There's going to be 3 foot positions that we're going to experiment with on both sides. The first one is just putting one foot ahead of the other. So we're going into a neutral stride stance. That means that your feet are about hip width apart. Both toes are pointed forward. You have to make sure that the stride stance is large enough to make sure that you're promoting recovery. Okay? Whatever you do with one foot ahead, you'll then switch to the opposite foot ahead. This second plane, what we're going to do to emphasize the frontal plane, is we're actually going to go with a wider base. So take your top foot and your down foot, move them east and west, and move them away from each other. That wide base is actually going to really emphasize the trailing groin, the groin on the down foot side. Okay? And the last one we're going to do is we're actually going to toe in both feet and maintain more of a narrow base. This is really difficult challenge-wise, but we're putting it last because it is the most demanding, so we're going to give you time to loosen up with the other ones first. So here we go. Those are the positions. With the step facing you, I'm going to start with my right foot up, my left foot back. We're going to use the hands as a driver. You're going to reach out beyond the foot, and then you're going to draw a large circle up and back. And that's 1. We're going to go three repetitions. 2. 3. If you're losing your balance a lot, it's important to just keep a focal point. As I go and lose my balance. Okay, no big deal. You just get back onto the step. Make sure that as you're doing these movements, you're letting everything move with everything. You're not trying to inhibit anything. Really important that your back foot stays down flat on the ground and that your back knee stays locked the whole time. After we go in the frontal plane, then we're going to drive in the transverse plane. We're going to twist to the right and to the left. Again, letting everything move with everything. Once we're done with one side, we'll go in a similar size stride.